Up, folks? Figured this would be easier than kind of having everybody go in Discord and let me know if this works or doesn't work for them. So, long story short, I'm going to kind of describe the new tab I made here on our spreadsheet called the cash game value sheet. I guess you want to call it that for lack of better terms. But long story short, week 4, I haven't uploaded any of that data yet. I am going to do that shortly. Pass catchers tab, obviously that makes every sense. A little notes I put here. RBs, same thing. There's a week 3 still, so disregard that. I will update week 4. QB and slate notes. This is a pretty big tab here, I think. As you'll see here, I try to give you some optimal cash lineups here from the research that I've done. But what I want to help you with today, instead of, not necessarily giving you my lineup, because I obviously gave you a lot of options to work on here with different players that you could choose from right here as well, but what I want to show you is kind of how I go about building what I consider to be the cash or the optimal cash lineup, and that's something that I've been extremely successful with in DFS for, NFL specifically. That's my bread and butter. As you all know, I love to write the cash game article for Win Daily here on the NFL season. Haven't really got around to writing the cash game articles because this whole thing takes me a lot of time reviewing the games a second or a third time sometimes, or if you're watching Brandon Silvers, you just turn the game off because he's terrible. Same with McGloin. But let's get to it. So the new sheet I'm working on here, disregard the format. It's kind of all over the place right now. So what I want to share with you guys, tabs B2 through E8 should be available for edit, but if you start editing it, let's say Walker, we're playing Peyton Manning instead, right? If you do this on this sheet, it is going to show up. Peyton Manning's going to show up for everybody, so you do not want to do that, right? We're going to control and get that out of there. So what you want to do is file and download to Excel or to whatever format you use, or just copy paste this whole thing into your own Google Sheet, and it should keep the formulas in there because we do not want to see what you're doing because it's going to throw everybody off. If you start editing a lineup on here, everybody that has access to this, which is what do we got, 70 people on here right now, so we do 70 people do not need to be working on this over the cloud. Please download this if you want to actually play around with it. If you don't have time, that's fine. Just use the cash lineup, not the cash lineup, but the cash options that I'm going to show with you here on this tab every week. But this is going to help you become a better player, mainly for NFL. But the way I look at the XFL right now is it is a great opportunity for us to fine-tune our play for the NFL. The XFL is so variant. There's so many different guys playing, so many guys that, I don't know, they just kind of fall off. Like we saw Cam Phillips do absolutely nothing last week, and that's going to happen in the NFL too. But, guys like Michael Thomas are going to put up 15 points every single week. In the NFL, it's a lot easier to rely on cash game type of players with a safe floor. So for this to get started, this right here is the exact lineup that I used in week 4 for my cash games. This is not a GPP video or anything like that. Usually I would stack guys into GPP because you all know the strategy on that. If not, reach out to me at Twitter at SticksPicks and ask me why, or reach out on Discord. What's different between a cash game and a GPP? I could certainly tell you that. I'm sure anybody in Discord would be more than happy to tell you that as well, whether they're a member or a staff guy. It doesn't matter. So basically, what I wanted to show you is this right here, the total cash lineup expected value. So let's pretend this thing was blank. We'd be putting in the players that we want before lock. Obviously, this is my lineup after lock, so these aren't actual projections. These are what the players did in week 4. Walker had 21.26 points. Cameron Artis-Payne had 10.4, so on and so forth. You get that. So when we're building or trying to build a cash lineup, from what I've seen here, these were the minimum pay lines for single entry 50-50s. Again, single entry, that is the way to go for cash games. We all know the lineup stacking things that some of these pros do, or whatever the hell they're doing. It's kind of bullshit. So single entry, you're more likely to get away from the guys that are doing that. So again, and lower money, they're probably not getting in there. And on DraftKings, it hasn't been that big of a deal anyway. It hasn't affected me. It hasn't affected anybody personally that I know. So you should be good. All right, sorry, hydrating a little bit there. So the average pay lines for week 2 and 4. Again, I was on vacation week 3. If anybody played cash games that week, please let me know what the average least payout was. So the guy that finished right after the pay line was stopped, or right before the pay line was stopped, I guess. So on average, week 1, it was 81.8 points. That was the guy that just finished in the money for cash. Week 2 was insane. I'll kind of explain that here. Cam Phillips and Nelson Spruce were heavy chalk, and they went off. They had 60 points between the two of them, so that's kind of an outlier. Cash games are not, you're not going to need 116 points most weeks. Then week 4, absolute dumpster fire. You only needed 67 points to get in the cash, in the money for cash games, single entry on DraftKings again. So again, I kind of just read some of these notes. They're kind of just all my thoughts blurted out to an Excel sheet, so whatever. What you're going to want to do is, obviously, the price has to fit your budget, right? We have a, whatever the threshold is here. See, I'm so prepared for you guys. On XFL, what is it? I want to say 50,000. Yeah, it's 50,000. Okay, so your salaries obviously have to be below 50,000. But what you're going to want to do, put in the players that you like. Maybe you have 10 to 12 of them. You can only play 7 or 6 of them. Not counting defense. But this is what I did. So my lineup ended up with a total of 1.44 expected value. It wasn't expected. That was true because that is exactly what they did. But let's say prior to the week I had PJ Walker projected for 25, right? So his expected value is going to go up to 2 times his salary. 12 times, or 25 divided by 12 is just over 2. Cap, I probably had him projected for right around where he did. I don't think I'll ever put a running back over 10 to 12 points. Khalil Lewis, I think I had him for like 14. I'm just trying to remember my projections. Tompkins, I think I had him at 8.8, if I remember correctly. He got 0, so that obviously hurt me, but I still cashed, so it didn't matter. So let's say this is how I'm going about the week. Dunbar, again, I would have never had a running back. Maybe him just because he's such a PPR asset. Same with Cameron Artis-Payne. I probably had him at like 12. And Reese Horn from Tampa, I think I had him for 9.1. Defense, they were just a price play for me. I wasn't handicapping defenses really. So give or take, these are the projections that I had for my guys roughly. I don't know if PJ Walker's 25, 24, whatever. You get the point. So when I'm looking at this, I see, okay, my cash lineup is projected for 87.3 points. Again, you could find projections for free on Roto Grinders. I put the link in that spreadsheet, and you could just upload here, go to QB, and they got points per dollar here. That's a value thing. So you could, all right, well, Walker's by far the highest ceiling quarterback, and as we've seen every week, he's got the highest floor. So he's probably a great play every week in cash. Josh Johnson, I'm going to give him a serious look this week too. But again, you could just copy their projections, put them in there. I don't know who makes these. I don't trust them, so I like to do my own. If I get around to doing my own, I will share those with you guys. But that's all I did is you could copy their projections, put it in here, and then see what pops up. This is all automated, so as you fill this out, this should come with it and change accordingly. So, like I said, the average pay line on DraftKings from week 1, 2, and 4 is 88.3 points. Like I said, week 2 is such an outlier, but they kind of balance out because if you take 20 away from this and 20 up from this, we are right around 88 points, which is great because that is the mean, if you will. So we want a lineup that comes right around 88 points projected. Projections are obviously kind of, they're not worthless, but anything could happen in the XFL. No one's going to hit the projection dead on, most likely, so whatever. It's just giving you the most firepower to make an educated cash game lineup. So I see 87.3. That's a little lower than 88.3, but that's 1 point. That's not bad. Let's say that this was a lineup that I loved for week 5. I may stick with that, but again, start to mix and match a couple players. Maybe you had Nick Holly, and he's 4.8, and I have him projected for 9 points, let's say, and then I could upgrade my defense to DC, who may be 4K, and I have them projected for 12. As you can see, let's see what it does. It makes that go to 91.2 and 1.9 expected value. So you can see as you play around with players and prices, you'll get different numbers. 1.92 is a hell of a lot better than 1.77, so I would probably make that switch in real life. But again, just trying to have this make the most sense for you guys. So 87.3, pretty close to 88.3. I may choose in some other players to find something else that works better. And then we go to the total cash lineup expected value. You don't always have to pay top dollar for quarterback. We need value somewhere. Maybe if I put Walker down to Josh Johnson and he's 10.5, maybe I could pay up from Tompkins and go get a better receiver like Austin Prohl, Nelson Spruce when he comes back, whatever the case may be. Play around with it. Don't just lock in PJ Walker at 12K because he is not affordable. And Josh Johnson, the difference between them may be 3 points, but it may be 7 points here, and that's going to do a lot of difference to your total projection and your value. So before I made all those edits, my lineup actually had a total value of 1.44. That is pretty bad, but week 4, you didn't need to be good to cash. Again, this is why cash games are so important. You do not have to be perfect to make money. Making money is the whole point of DFS, in my opinion. Obviously, fun's a big part of it too. But we're all in it to make money. Unless you're just a millionaire, then have at it. Play the $10 tournament to win $1 million, whatever the case may be. Do whatever makes you have fun. But if you want to build a bankroll, this is a great way to start doing it. So you could read this stuff on your own time. But all right, there we go. So the week 1 pay line was 81.8 points, as we see here, and the my lineup was actually right on the pay line, so I was at 81.9, but I put in that lineup of the guy that got the last place in cashing. So he didn't get last place in the tournament. He finished, 45th out of 100, which is the last pay line on a 100-man double up. So I put in his lineup into this thing, and it had a value of 2.12. Dude had a hell of a lineup, good value. So when we're averaging these out, I use the 1.44, the 2.12 divided by 2. You get an average of 1.8. So we want this number when we're finalizing our cash game lineup for the week to be right around 1.8. Obviously, the higher you can go, the better. So play around with it, plug in some other players, see if you can get one to right around 2. In NFL, if you can get a projected lineup for around 2.5 times expected value, that is awesome in an NFL cash game, and that has been, I've been hitting those at like 85%, I think, in the last 2 years. There's been a couple weeks. Your guys are just going to miss. Maybe PJ Walker gets hurt, and he only puts up 5 points instead of 25. There's nothing you can do about it. There is no guarantee in DFS, so please remember that. There is no guarantee. There's no guarantee in life, right? All right, enough of the coach speak there, but that is the number you want to get when you're playing around with your lineups for week 5. You want to see if you can get around 1.8 or exceed it. Obviously, if we can overachieve, that's more safety that we have. So use some projections, maybe Pro Football Focus or whatever source you has better projections that you trust more than these guys, because again, I don't know who makes them, but I do my own. So if I get around to sharing them with you guys, I will certainly do that. I do not care. I do not want to hold my information hostage from you guys. Obviously, I want to share every single sick XFL thought that goes through my mind here with you guys. So all right, Nick, this is a lot. This is funny. So what the hell do I do with this sheet? Get an idea the players are interested in using for cash. Again, that's just kind of using this information, using Hess's article, using whatever article you find in the industry that says these are the guys you should give a look on, right? So make a little player pool, write them on paper, and then start to play around with them in here and see what you can get out of your total lineup projection. Again, we want to exceed 88 points or get near it. 87.3, not bad, but that's kind of flirting with disaster here. And then download this sheet. Remember to download. Do not just edit it on here. We want to go to File, Download, Excel, and do this on your own desktop, not on the cloud, so we don't all see it. See number 3, that's or number 3. See number 2, that's just me being a smartass again. Download the sheet. Then you insert the players, obviously write their names, put their prices in, put their projection in from whatever source you get. The expected value is going to calculate itself based on the price and the projection you put in, so you don't have to do anything with E. You don't have to do anything with this. It should auto-populate. And again, If it's around 1.8, you should be solid. But again, it never hurts to, swap out a couple guys. Like Lewis, he was never going to leave my cash lineup in week 4. So you don't want to take everybody out, but Reese Horn, do I really like him? I don't know. Maybe I'll try Nick Holly. Nick Holly had a way better game. I should have done that, but it didn't matter because you don't have to be perfect in cash games. Change the defense, whatever gets you. I mean, defensive projections, I don't know. They're probably not worth a shit. So do with those what you want to do, especially on here. Like, let's see what they got the defenses projected for. Yeah, they're all like around 8. You know not to play the defenders used to be good, I guess, but I don't know. So it all just kind of depends on what price works, what projections. Maybe you think the Battlehawks are going to do way better against DC. You could certainly just change it on here. 13. I think they'll get 13. Whatever. Justify it the way that you want to justify it. But just make sure you play around with it enough and make sure you download it and then do it on your desktop. Again, 1.8. That's what we want to get to around here. And we want to get to around 88. Obviously, the higher the better in both. So good luck. Let me know if you have any thoughts on this. I will email this out to everybody that's on this sheet. And if you have any questions, again, follow me on Twitter if you could, please. I'm trying to build a name for myself in the DFS industry. So that's obviously my dream job here, is to do this for you guys for the rest of my life. So I very much appreciate it. I appreciate all the feedback that we've gotten so far on this sheet. Very positive. And thank you for being a part of Win Daily.